I'm a longboarder. I've got 9/6 like logs, so I like going out on like waist, chest high days. Any bigger than that, I'm like, I'll watch or have tacos. Here we are, typical day at the household, COVID times, backyard, making pizza, writing a new album. It's hot as hell, climate change, riots, protests. So what better time to answer some questions? First tip, so it's gonna be, God, it's so hot out, it's like already drying out. I mean, this recipe is such that I feel like no matter what happens, it will rise. I just don't like when it has like a fibrous texture, like when it's like really smooth, you know, and fluffy, cloud-like. Kraftwerk's man machine have any influence on A&P tech as a real man machine? No. This one olive oil instead of vegetable oil, and I'm gonna work it a little longer. See if I can glutify it. All right, this one comes from Sim, best town you've played in. There's like different elements to best town, you know, you've got like places like towns in Slovakia that I had never been to are amazing because there's only 30 people, but the people are really intense. But then you have places like Chicago, London, Berlin that are like typical like music heavens, you know, for those are amazing, but people are so used to having good music, so the excitement level is not that high. So like I think crowd and intensity is like a little bit gnarlier in like Prague. Prague was probably the gnarliest shows I've ever had. What's one thing you wish to achieve in the next 5 years? I have no idea. Musically, I'm happy just, you know, I think one thing that would be nice is if I could get 500 people in a room. That was my goal of my life, was 500 people consistently at shows, because then it's just a nice small room. Like the Melvins, you know, I love that the Melvins never got like, you know, they were on Atlantic Records for a second and they got big, but then they kind of I think they toured with White Zombie, and they didn't like the sort of stardom and some aspects of that bigger world, and so they wanted to keep things small. So when they come to San Diego, they'll play the Casbah 2 nights in a row rather than playing a big club with 1,000 people. They'll do 2 nights at a few hundred people. So yeah, if I could get 500 people in my lifetime at a show, that would be great. Explain your relationship with the Tool Camp. How did I get the tour? Danny Carey's wife, Ryan Stump, has a festival up in Portland called Stump Fest. Her and her sister Sarah, and they booked me there in 2015 or 14 or something, and then I met them, and I played in LA a couple times after that, and Ryan brought Danny Carey with her to a couple shows, and you know, he had mentioned, oh, maybe you could come out with Tool sometime, and then the Pussifer store where Jen Keenan, Maynard's wife, works, had me do an in-store performance, and so I'd never met her. I got to meet her, and then when I toured with Three Teeth, Adam came to my show in LA, and we chatted briefly. So it was just over the period of, what was that, 4 years? Just slowly sort of picking away. So it wasn't something I went after. It just kind of kept touring and finally get to meet everybody. Here we go. One of the biggest worries was getting in these venues and how powerful was it going to be, how was it going to translate, would I need to bring some of my own speakers and all that, would the sound engineer that was working for Tool give me, they have a lot of people that work on the sound side of things, so that's why we brought our own sound people, and they were great. It worked out great. I had all these worries about that, but in the end, the sub and the bass and the PA were so fucking loud, and there was so much low end that there was no concern. I did not have to worry about it at all. I think the first thing Adam said to me after he heard my first set was he shit his pants. So I was like, okay, that's cool. I think we did it well. Explain how Justin Chancellor joined you on stage for a crude sectioning. That happened, I want to say that we were in Australia and Justin knocked on my door. We only recently started talking because he's a Chelsea fan, I'm a Liverpool fan. And he just mentioned like, hey, do you have a track I could play on? He was like, I guess maybe hearing some stuff he could do over what I was doing. So I thought for about like a day and basically came back with the crude sectioning because it has some space for a little bit more rhythm. It's got this kind of like drum sequence that runs in the background, and I thought it would have been kind of something that he could just riff with. We did it once in the US, I think we did it in Portland. That was the last show before COVID hit. So this one is just going to be kind of a thicker crust. This is a nice fluffy crust, feels fluid. It's got like a lot of, I don't know what you'd call that, thwappiness. It's got a lot of thwap to it. So we're gonna get that in there, almost like a focaccia. Put it down here, let it spread out. Just let it fill the pan. Get comfortable in there. Just want to stretch this, let it fill the thing. And we're gonna give this another little rise for about 20 minutes as we prepare the rest of the fillings for this. And this has got oil in the bottom of it, so I want that to burn, I want that to bubble and fry in there so that the bottom is really crispy. Not kind of your dry, I don't know what part of the world this is from, but it's gonna be good. Do you foresee future touring being much different post-COVID? I don't see it being that much different, other than the fact that we might all kill each other or be a lot more violent. I think that's something that is in the music scene. It'll be interesting to see what happens with fracturing due to just escalation of right-wing extremism and just
I think that will take some people out of our scene. I know a lot of people, speaking of Yob and Primitive Man and Full of Hell and The Body, and bands that will have no tolerance for that. And I'm certainly not going to tolerate it in my shows. And I think that will take some people out of the scene, you know, and good riddance. So that is going to be a big thing that I hope will be one positive element to this. I do have a new album in the works, and I've got an artists that I'm working with for artwork and ideas there. I've already got some themes that I'm working with. The lyrics I haven't started writing yet, but yeah, absolutely. I think I've got maybe 8 or 9 tracks already, and hopefully a couple of covers if those work out. So absolutely. All right, so what's your favorite doom metal band? I think it's tough because I think in terms of real doom metal, I always thought Melvins were a doom metal band. Lysol album, you know, that's the first one I heard, so I think that got me into it. I wouldn't think Guns N' Roses is really a doom metal band because they're like a little bit more complex. But you know, I think that for the longest period of time it was been Yob, and I also just I love everything about that band, and just the fact that they're it's one of those bands that I can watch them without the need for like lighting or like the band to be performative or anything like that. They just kind of like watching them do their musicianship is enough for me, and I think that for me is something really valuable.
Nice cupping, looks deadly. Yes.
Really good.
I'm down for that.
Favorite movies besides Melancholia? Does it take long for your lyrics writing process? Man, did I say Melancholia was my favorite movie? It's a good movie, but it's God, what is my favorite movie? Let's see. Let's just say like what I liked recently. There's a movie called Bacurau, which is like a Brazilian film. Basically, some crazy German white supremacist thinks he's gonna like go hunting for black and brown people in Brazil, and it's a really sick film, but they get their payback, so it's satisfying to see. What else did I like all Lars von Trier stuff. So recently I've been going back and like finding like older epic films. The Australian New Wave stuff, like I love that movie Wake and Fright, which is also the name of the Uniform album. One thing I've learned through this pandemic is that there's a difference between, if you want to have change occur, there are people that have been protesting and involved in activism their whole lives who've been doing this when it's not a hot topic. And so trying to learn from them has been seeing that like this is a long process and it's going to take a lot of hard work, and that making some posts and getting in arguments online is not a good thing. Is not really gonna lead to anything positive. There's just, you need to put your feet on the ground and do the work. And I think as musicians, it's a shame that we're not in clubs right now and playing shows, because it would be a powerful platform to have dialogue and have arguments and just, you know, I don't know, I'm sure there'd be violence at some of these shows, but, you know, maybe that's a good thing, you know, if we got into confrontations with other people. I also thought, like, some of these protests, you know, you don't see this, you know, you don't see black, brown, and white people all getting together and protesting together. So I always thought it would have been, if we could have gone and had beers together afterwards and continued the dialogue into social spheres outside of just holding signs, it would have been a positive experience. But so maybe when things come back, we can, I don't know, we can take part in that.